Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. The day is the 10th day of March 2022, and I wanted to talk to you about a concern that I see as leading us to how power companies or energy companies are in reality becoming more and more dependent on fewer sources. And that's why eventually your prices of energy, that is, you're getting your power from them, utilities, is going to go up. So at one time you had at one time smaller power companies that actually were sometimes started by cities many years ago, probably over 100 years ago. And what led to eventually they consolidated and became a larger group. So one of the first things they did was use either steam or not hydraulic, hydro power, which water. And that was easy at that point. And they eventually moved to other areas of other power uses. So they began to use multi. So they were at one time we had hydroelectric, we had what we call coal, COAL, which is a natural resource. It's been bad mouthed so much, folks, that everybody thinks it's such a bad deal. But the interesting thing about this is that coal is still being shipped, but it's not being shipped anymore, hardly any power companies, because it's such a bad thing. You see, it creates carbon dioxide. You do get the drift, don't you? That we are also carbon units. That is us human beings. That we take in oxygen, but we breathe out carbon dioxide. There's a complete plan here to destroy life on this planet, and that's what they're attacking. They're not saying you yet, but that's what this is all about. So carbon dioxide is not bad. We have ways of dealing with that, and that's simply by the trees, the grass, even I think even the waters actually change that. But mainly it's the green items, your trees and your grasses and that type of thing that actually produce oxygen. So there's the carbon dioxide is not a bad thing. Carbon monoxide is as a poison, you see, and it's detrimental to society. If you put carbon monoxide in your house, you won't be living long. You'll be breathing that and it will kill you. So we went to hydroelectric. We have gone to what we call uh, coal, and then you had what we call oil fired or fuel oil. In some ways, were used for smaller plants, but it wasn't super efficient. And you have natural gas and you have nuclear power. In the Obama administration, they poo-pooed coal immensely and promoted nuclear power. So why did that take place? Well, probably the main deal is those that supported Obama to get into office got money from the people who want to destroy coal, which is a beneficial natural resource we have in the United States. And so we sell this coal to China. China uses it still. Mainly the Western countries have decided it's a bad idea, as though it's a bad idea that simply is that it pollutes. But nuclear power is far more dangerous if it's ever not contained. And in reality, folks, nuclear power is far more dangerous because there are leaks at many plants and they just don't tell you about them anymore. They cover it up because the nuclear power industry has people who that are involved in the government at the high levels to just look away and say, okay, just don't do that again. So what's really happening is that we're becoming dependent upon other industries, such as, again, like a natural gas. Hydroelectric is being phased out simply because we don't want to see that also because it damages wildlife. So these are all detrimental to what we're seeing these days. And you're seeing also, I walk in the store a couple of times here recently at Lowe's and also at Home Depot. And now they're selling lawnmowers that are basically electric use. So we're becoming more and more dependent upon electricity. We do know that simply is that solar is not dependable. That is, solar is good for basically when the sun is out, but is not a great deal when we're talking about when it's cloudy. And then also when the sun's not out, that is the night, there is no power, no generation taking place with solar, you see. And then wind energy, that is the wind power, is enormously inefficient because you spend more money in the building of it. That is the whole apparatus of putting up the windmills. That in reality, it doesn't even pay for itself. Do you understand that? So it's an asinine operation system. And what I mean simply is that it benefits those who sell this, but in reality, it costs tons of money to put it up. It also simply is detrimental, not detrimental, but poorly worse, because if you don't have any wind, there is no power produced. Okay? So it's not dependable. You see, you're looking for what I would call something that depends, you can depend upon it. So in the United States, simply is we have abundance of coal. We have also natural gas. And I'm not poo-pooing natural gas. But what's really going on simply is that they're moving you towards one particular direction, and that's towards electric use, and moving away from gasoline, moving you away from other alternate deals. We used to, well, a long time ago, approximately 100 years ago, we would actually, you could use alcohol to actually run a tractor. You didn't have to have gasoline. You also had kerosene also that would do what we would call the lanterns, and also to power also energy in your house. That is a kerosene heater. But that's been a poo-poo also. That's been pushed away. So what's happening simply is this used to be a broad road, wide road, and it's becoming narrow. And what's happening simply is that we're becoming more dependent upon one or two sources. The main source right now is natural gas. And so the prices will fluctuate. And they're fluctuating right now with this whole issue going on in Ukraine. And so it's all based upon speculation. That's what the stock market is. It's just mainly speculation. It's saying this is going to happen such and such, and people speculate it's going to go higher or lower, depending on which way, either the bear or the bull market. So what I wanted to explain to you simply is that it's important you have different sources at your house that you're able to actually be able to cook food on or to warm yourself. And so, and this is changing rapidly. I bought a wood stove about 3 years ago. The EPA was already making strong deals, making it harder and harder to actually get wood stoves in the future. And there are becoming less and less manufacturers that make wood stoves. The wood stove that I got, the whole cast iron apparatus itself was made in, I think it was made in Portugal or Spain. I didn't even know this. I thought it was, these American companies simply is they're buying stuff and putting it together, which I don't have a problem with that. I just wasn't told that this was made in Spain. But anyway, the point simply is you need to be less and less dependent upon the power companies in this way. And so what you need to do is either have other sources or ways to keep yourself warm or either cook food. So this is just a short video. I just want to explain to you. Also, one other thing is important is that there are less and less power companies now. Okay, so what's happening simply is these companies are being allowed, which is less competition. And so what's taking place is simply is that they are, what's the word I'm trying to say? They're covering more regional areas. Like there's the company, when you cross the river here in Georgia, is a company called Georgia Power. And it's owned by a conglomerate of other companies later. Alabama Power, part of Florida is called Florida Power. So there's part of energy coming from them. And then in Georgia, and I think one other state also. So yes. I see that Lottie says we have traditional fireplace. They're asking arm and a leg to fix the interior of the chimney. Yeah, this is all done on reason. Yes. I can remember many companies that built stoves in the past. And when I bought a stove 3 years ago, it was put in April. The cost of the product was a little over $2,000. It was like $2,100 or $2,200 for a wood stove, and it was approximately another 2 grand to put it together. In other words, to put up the apparatus for it to go out the roof and bring it in here, such and such, and pay for the employees to work here and put it together. So that also meant the certain piping that went up to the flume, as we would call it, all the way up to the roof and then out of that, such and such. And within a year, it was already, I had a leak in my roof because of that. And so I had to call them to get here and do that. Now, since then, I just simply just do it myself. If I see a leak, I just do it and go outside and do it. But to give you an idea, simply as I paid approximately $4,200 in cash. I didn't put it on a credit card. I paid for it. So they didn't lose anything here. And yet they're in Augusta. There was only one dealer in Augusta, Georgia. The other dealer there's nobody here where I live at, is in Aiken, South Carolina. There is another dealer in Columbia. And they basically simply, that's the only two places they could really buy it from, supposedly, because no one would go that far, travel more than 50 or 60 miles to do this, you see. So it's a protected territory. But the problem simply is that territory is there's just one company. You see, there's nobody else I know of in Augusta that sells these and actually installs them. So that's to give you an idea of what's happened. So when I was talking to these guys, they were telling me that simply the units that they were selling within a year or two, they were going to be outdated. The EPA was coming in and simply saying, you can no longer use this particular type of stove because it puts too much pollution out. So you see, this apparatus here is so strong, and eventually, my thinking is simply they're going to eventually, you can use what they call a pellet type of deal on wood stove. I don't know of any other stoves out there. In fact, I don't know the wood stoves anymore have what they call electric fans on them anymore. That's probably gone away a good while. But I'm just sharing with you what's going on, because you're being close. It's like a funnel. At one time, the power companies could get from different sources. Now those sources are strictly pretty much one or two. And the ones here in South Carolina are pretty much, well, they're just three. There are three different power companies here in South Carolina. They're divided with Dominion Energy, Duke Energy, and one else, which is used to be called Carolina Power and Light, and it's now called, I think, Reliant Energy, which is based, part of it's out of Florida. So you have three competitors, but the problem is you can't buy from either one of these. Once you're in a certain area in South Carolina, you don't have any choice. Where I live at, it's either, well, there is a choice, is a co-op, but the co-op is part of Santee Cooper, which is a small power company, but they buy their power from the other three. So they're dependent upon it, you see. So most of what we call the electric co-ops are basically for people who live out in the country, you see. And that was done in the 1930s because the bigger companies didn't want to do that. So they power these things out in the rural areas because they put out these poles, such and such, and it was a long ways that you got to another house, and so it wasn't cost effective, you see, in the past. So I wanted to share that with you, displaying what's going on. And there's a situation here where I live in South Carolina, is that the rotten lawyers, or legislators, I call them, have decided that basically that who should pay for all this. In the past, when South Carolina Electric and Gas decided they were going to build a nuclear power plant here, and they never built it. They got probably 50% of it done, and then they want to pass those costs along to the taxpayer, not the taxpayers, but actually to the people who have power. That's not my problem, folks. Your power company, that's your responsibility, not mine. But this is how crooked the system really is, and it's time for us, get rid of what we call. Well, I basically think we need to go back to natural law. We don't need anyone to actually govern us. Period. The two-party political system is corrupt as it can be. And most of these people who are actually in the court systems, I mean, not court systems, but legislators, are lawyers. Why not farmers? Why not businessmen? Why not those people? Because these people realize simply, why are we making so many laws here? This is ridiculous. And there are laws on top of laws on top of laws, or statutes, what do you want to call it, all over the place. So I just thought I'd share this with you. It's just sad what's going on, and it's not going to get better because simply they're dependent upon natural gas. There used to be SCNG had a power plant down in Connors, I think it's Candace Corner, which is actually it was a coal power plant, and in 2013 or 2012 it was closed. And this nothing's there now. It was a whole power plant and everything was stacked. That's all gone. Every bit of it's gone. You see. And you used to be a railroad that actually brought the coal cars there and dumped those things for them, and then take the empties and bring the full ones back. So that's gone. You see. So it's amazing how we're becoming less and less competitive because there are less and less companies out here, and these large corporations are. How would I say it? They don't really care. The larger they get, they don't care. They just don't care. They say, "Well, too bad you don't have power. It's not our problem." See, so that's the reason why you need to look at other places like again wood, kerosene. If you can still find kerosene heaters, also have a way of simply a generator, that type of thing. But most people can't afford this stuff. See, most people are no way they can afford it. So anyway, that's my spiel for today. I appreciate you, Lottie, communicating. Just two South Carolinians here. Okay, that's good. Appreciate you being here. And these things are important because it means there's no competition, no more. And we pay more and more for this. And what gripes me simply was that the legislator allowed the power company, SCNG, to borrow money, not from a bank, but from its customers. That's wrong. Pure wrong. And I'm sure SCNG passed money along to these legislators to approve this. So it's all corrupt. So that's my spiel on this. Appreciate your attention. You have a good day.